All right, everybody hear me? I'm gonna take it as a yes. There we go. It's late in the day, I know, but we still got a lot of energy. The last panel was great, so we're gonna finish it off with another incredible discussion. We have Erick here, we have Carson here, and I want to hear a little bit about, you have worked together both for about 3 to 4 years. Kadenwood, right, an incredible brand, making tons of strides in the CPD and plant-based wellness space. Erick, why don't you give me a little background just on the brand, the history, kind of how it got its start?
Yeah, so thanks for having us. This is a great forum for us. We've been in business now almost exactly 4 years, and Kadenwood started with the idea of taking, at the time, plant-based wellness, primarily CBD products in an industry that was kind of the wild, wild west of ingredients. Nobody really knew where they were coming from. The products, nobody really knew what the quality of the products were. And taking those products and putting them in mainstream retail, which at the time, CBD was a little nebulous. It was brand new. There were some bad actors out there. So we started with the goal of creating high quality products with a vertical integration company so that we could control our ingredient quality, we can control our product quality, and we could also control our cost of goods to bring the price down, because early on the products were really expensive. So we started primarily launching our first flagship brand, which was Level Select CBD. And from there, we've now grown to have 5 different consumer brands, and we've also expanded into broader plant-based wellness. And our largest launch as a company is happening right now with our Level Select OTC product line, which actually is a plant-based pain relief product line that has no CBD, but has naturally sourced menthol, naturally sourced camphor. Those are the 2 active ingredients. The only other product on the market that has those 2 active ingredients is Icy Hot Pro, but those ingredients are not naturally sourced. And then we have 5 other plant adaptogens in that product that that are known to create efficacy, but they're still pre-FDA monographs. So our goal really is to launch products that larger consumer goods companies don't have the ability to launch, so we can kind of innovate a little more aggressively than larger companies, but still compete with the larger companies.
Makes a ton of sense. So Carson, you've been a professional athlete, played sports for an incredibly long time. When you've thought about just taking care of your body, how do you kind of maintain the level of excellence? Have you kind of traditionally kept yourself in tip-top shape and, thought about being at the top of your game?
Yeah, so when I was 22, 23, first couple years in the NFL, I was still eating fried chicken and pizza and drinking beer and soda. And I thought I'm invincible, just like every other 21, 22, 23-year-old kid. And I was told by all the old guys in the locker room, hey, you got to start eating right and doing all these things. But I didn't have any repercussions from that because I was 22. I'd wake up the next day, I'd feel great. I wouldn't put on weight, and I would go and train and play and compete. I think 31, 32, 33, I started going, oh man, all those old guys that were telling me I better start taking care of myself were right this whole time. And so I really wanted to understand more about it. And if you don't know a ton about health and what it takes to be healthy and taking good care of yourself, there's no rule book to follow. And so I just started reading and watching things and listening to podcasts and just all these different things to get caught up to speed, and really started to understand you've got to stay hydrated. You've got to get proper sleep, just the really fundamentals of health. And then just as I got into it, and the better you feel and the more gratification you get from doing these changes and making these changes, the easier it is to do the change. And it just becomes habit, and it becomes routine and part of your daily exercise or your daily routine. And so it just took a while for me to understand the importance of it. Now I'm, mid 40s, trying to keep up with kids, trying to coach, trying to work, trying to do all these different things. And one of the most important things about my life is the health of my lifestyle, and sleep and rest and recovery and hydration and all these things, diet. When I do have a soreness, taking care of it, because I have a lot of sorenesses. I played for a long time. I got hit a whole bunch of times. I've had 6, 7 surgeries. So I've been through in a short amount of time, in my short life span so far, I've had a lot of injuries and surgeries and things I've had to deal with. And I 4 years ago heard about this new product called, we didn't know what it was called back then, but Eric and a buddy of mine, Todd, the founder, brought the product to me, and I tried it once, and I tried everything. I mean, I was a sucker for infomercials. If you had a product out there, I was going to try it. And as everybody in this room knows, a lot of those products don't work. This product worked the first time, and I was like, all right, I'm in. I want more. How can I be a part of this?
Yeah. So when you first got introduced to the product, you said, you met Eric, the other co-founder. They reached out to you. You tried it, and this kind of changed your life right then and there.
We were sitting in San Diego, and they came over to my house, and we're sitting out on the deck, and they had this tube. It wasn't even a tube. It was like, I think Todd had made it in his garage. He pulls it out of this briefcase, and it was this kind of unveiling, and I'm like, all right, Todd, Eric, I've seen this a million times. Give me the spiel. Let's get this over with. Let's go play golf or whatever we were doing. And so he pulls it out. It looked like his kid made it for a science project, and I twist the top off of it, and I open it up. I take a scoop, and I think at that time I was coming off an elbow surgery. So I put it on, and this product is one of those products, like, you don't need to try it 12 times. You don't need to use it for 3 months to then start feeling or receiving the benefit. It's instantaneous. And so I rubbed it on my elbow. I don't even know that it was called it wasn't called Level Select at that moment.
It was a prototype.
Yeah. Just a prototype. And so I rubbed it on my elbow, and I was like, wow, this works. What's next? Let's go through the steps. And we figured out a way to work together.
Nice. So Eric, once you got athletes like Carson involved, they really tried the product, understood the true benefits of it. How have you continued to think about the marketing of it and the partnering in a real kind of authentic way with folks like Carson?
Yeah. So I mean, this product started out as an athlete-based product. So Steve Garvey, the baseball legend, is also one of the early members of the company. And we then also brought in pretty early on Annie Myers-Drysdale, and then subsequent to that, Ricky Fowler. Now we have Taylor Fritz. So the brand was always conceived to be strong enough to work for professional athletes. And then that is the pressure proof point for consumers to say, okay, well, I didn't play 14 years in the NFL and get banged up. So if it works for him, clearly it's going to work for, my weekend warrior pain. And that was really the approach we took with our athletes and our marketing to reach the consumer. But the real important thing when you're doing that type of marketing is the product has to hold up, because you can communicate all of this efficacy, but at the end of the day, when the consumer tries it, if it doesn't have the effect that you're claiming, they're gonna walk away. But we're here 4 years later because the product is what we say it is. It works really well. And the athletes, by the way, are all invested in the company. We're not in a situation where a lot of companies will go out and they'll pen a big check and somebody will say they use a product and then their term will expire. Our athletes are invested in the company. They're along the ride with the rest of the team, and they really believe in it because it works for them.
Have you seen challenges in terms of getting the product out there, getting the messaging out there, just thinking about, the regulatory landscape? When you're obviously dealing with health and wellness and kind of scaling a business, there's certain things you have to deal with, competitive advantages or disadvantages.
Yeah, so early on, we actually started this company right before COVID hit. And that was also, that was a blessing and a curse for us. The blessing was a lot of the early movers in the CBD space, because some were arguing that we actually came into it a little bit late. But a lot of the early movers who had secured a lot of the retail positioning struggled during COVID and started to fall off. We took advantage of that and were able to then build retail dominance in the industry. So we're the largest distributed CBD products in mainstream retail. So CVS, Walgreens, Kroger, all of the mainstream retailers that carry CBD, we lead in distribution. We don't sell in places like vape shops or dispensaries or anything like that. That's not who our consumer is. And so that was a blessing. The unfortunate thing is, the FDA has been indicating that they're going to, add some regulatory clarity for quite some time, and now recently they've indicated, well, we're going to punt it again and give it to Congress. Cynically, I believe that Big Pharma's behind all of that, because CBD is not something you can patent. If it was a molecule, they probably would have bought us and patented it. But since it's not something, you can't patent dirt, you can't patent plants. So they've taken a different approach, and they've put a wet blanket over the industry. So that's caused us to make some changes to be able to continue to grow our business. So this year, the largest pain relief new product launch is coming from us, and it doesn't have CBD in the product, but it did take advantage of the leadership we demonstrated to retailers in our CBD line, and now we have full distribution at CVS. It's an A launch. We have full distribution at Walgreens. We have distribution at Walmart. Rite Aid's coming online. We'll be able to sell on Amazon, do all the things that we are restricted from doing with our CBD line, with our Level Select OTC line. So that leadership in CBD allowed us to then take it and convert it into something that a 4-year-old company frankly isn't entitled to, which is the largest pain relief topical launch in the country, going up directly against Icy Hot and BioFreeze.
Yeah. And as you see kind of the future of the business and continuing to scale, like how do you think about the partnership with folks like Carson kind of being a really integral part of that?
Yeah, I mean, like 100% we're totally committed and reliant upon the athletes that are currently part of the business, and we're happy to add more. Like I said, we haven't officially announced Taylor Fritz, but he is on the team. He's going to be featured in our new ad with Ricky promoting Level Select OTC. The ad that we currently have, Carson, Ricky, and Steve Garvey are all in it together. And so that for us is the identity of the brand. Level Select is a sports brand, and it's supported by the best athletes in the world, and in a very authentic way. So it really is the identity of the brand.
Yeah. So Carson, once you were done eating fast food and cheeseburgers and milkshakes, and you got a kind of a healthier lifestyle, started using some of the Kadenwood products, Level Select, like would you say you just started feeling better overall? Like you've been through a major knee injury, right? You know, bouncing back from that, thinking about the quality of life as you move through, your 40s, like does it feel like you are just able to live a more holistic life, able to move around better?
No, yeah, I've tried it all. I've had 2 major reconstructive knee surgeries. After the first one, I forget what the fad diet was back then, but I tried that. The second one, I had the second surgery, and I went into ketosis for 2 months, which is you don't eat any carbs, so it was really heavy protein, really good fats, but no carbs. I like the challenge of that mentally, but I also like the benefits from just your everyday life. But the most important thing that I read about, that I practice, is just sleep and hydration. I'm always focused on making sure I'm getting good sleep, getting good hydration. And I don't want to have any more surgeries. I've had enough surgeries and walked out with a script that had Vicodin or Oxycontin or whatever it is that you needed to deal with the pain. And so my last 2 surgeries, I've taken 0 pain meds. I've just used gummies, and after the surgery scar heals up and the stitches come out, once they pull those sutures, I would start using the topical, the roll-on or the cream like this. But it's as everybody's getting older, none of us are getting younger. As you get older, you need to make adjustments, and you can't eat fried chicken. That's his go-to. Yeah. You can't eat fried chicken like you could when you were a spring chicken. And so I'm very focused on my diet. I'd say 6 days a week, but I'm still a foodie, and I still like the one cheat day. So.
Okay, so 1 day a week you still eat fast food?
Yeah, not fast food, just not clean, healthy.
Yeah, I think it's also a really good point when you mentioned, a lot of athletes, there's pain medications, prescription meds like Vicodin, Oxycontins. I think it's still, across the sports landscape broadly. Do you feel like there's becoming kind of athletes are more receptive to thinking about plant-based medicine, CBD as an alternative versus going to, the prescription meds that they might be given from, a locker room, a coach, a friend?
That whole world has completely changed, I'd say 7, 8, 10 years ago. It was really easy to walk into our training room and ask the team doctor, my back's killing me, my neck, my whatever it is, and get some sort of opioid. It was really, really easy. And obviously we have a national crisis with opioids, but it was just known. Like when you were in the NFL and you didn't feel good, you'd go get a Toradol shot before the game, which are awful for you. It's really a pain. If you had a hamstring injury, they would take and inject Toradol into your hamstring, and your hamstring would feel great for 48 hours. And after 48 hours, it couldn't feel worse. But that was just the norm. And going in and asking for a painkiller was the norm. It was just kind of how everybody operated, and every NFL, NBA, whatever locker room operated. And now that people have realized you can have surgery and not go directly onto some sort of opioid, you can get past the first 48, 72 hours post-surgery with using a product like Level Select. You don't need to ingest whatever that pain pill is, and that has totally changed. And obviously for the better, but it was like you would jump on a team plane after you play a game and they would hand them out like candy, like breath mints. And that's not the case anymore. And products like this that you're starting to slowly see creep into different pro sports locker rooms are great for the sport, great for the athletes, great for the kids that look up and worship those athletes, and those are their idols. This product and a number of other products have gotten players and athletes off of the opioids.
Yep. Eric, when you think about consumers, like the marketplace, you feel like they're receptive as well? Like, have they been able to get past, either real or imagined stigmas about kind of the space around CBD and plant-based wealth?
It's a lot better than it was 4 years ago. I have to tell you, when I first started this company, I didn't even tell people what I was doing because they asked if I was a drug dealer. Well, depends on how you look at it, but no, I'm not like selling marijuana. That's what everybody was really having a hard time distinguishing between hemp-based CBD and, THC marijuana. And our business has no exposure to THC. We're simply using the CBD as an ingredient in products to reach an efficacy against a specific need state. And so it's a lot better than it was, but the regulatory environment's not helping because there are, and for right reason, there's a good segment of the population that looks to, places like the FDA to say, okay, well, is this something that I can use? If you remember the line in Home Alone when Kevin McAllister is trying to buy his toothbrush and he asks, is this toothbrush certified by the, American Dental Association? I mean, like, that's a real thought that people have when they're buying products. And so that level of restriction still inhibits people from trying the product because they think that there might be something wrong with it. We've done some things to overcome that. So both of our manufacturing facilities are NSF certified, which is something that's really hard to attain. And NSF is the certification that pro athletes need in order to put a product into their body to make sure that they're not going to fail any sort of their drug tests or whatever. So we're making all of these really incredible investments that we shouldn't have to make based on what the type, what the product is. CBD has never killed anybody ever. Like, you can't overdose on it. The worst that'll happen is you get an upset stomach. But you can go buy cigarettes, you can go buy alcohol, no problem. Kill people every day. But CBD, damn that CBD. It's really incredible what we're having to overcome, but it's a reality that we have to deal with.
Yeah. Carson, if you had used these products, let's say when you started your career, you got to USC, got to the Bengals, you feel like you would have had a better quality of life starting from then?
That's tough to say. Like I said, I mean, when you're 21, 22, you can play a football game on Sunday and wake up and go be really athletic and go do whatever it is you want to do. You don't have the aches and pains. It's hard to say. I just look at the way I use the product now, and I've got two aspiring athletes. I've got my two oldest are 14, and my daughter is an incredible basketball player and plays all the time and comes home with injuries and aches and Oshkin slaughter, which is something that maybe not everybody's heard about. It's a growing pain that kids in their adolescence go through. CBD is awesome for it. I've got a son that's a young quarterback that wants to play football, and I coach his team. And with football, like every, at every level, whether you're in the NFL or a seventh grader, you're sore. There's days where it's hard to get up out of bed, low back, neck. I use it, they use it all the time. And there is no negative stigma in our home. towards it, just because they look at this just like anybody else would look at taking an ice bath or icy hot or biofreeze, whatever it is. So I don't know that it made me a better athlete or more productive or throwing more touchdown passes, but just from quality of life and feeling better. And I use the gummies every night. They help me sleep great. I wake up a lot of prior to the gummies, I would wake up a lot of times at 3 o'clock in the morning with sleeping on my right shoulder, and after throwing 400,000 footballs, it doesn't feel good. And things like Level Select's CBD product at night help me get through the night, wake up, I feel energized, because if I don't sleep good, if I don't get my 8 hours, I'm a disaster. And I think it's incredibly important for everybody. I know it's incredibly important for me. So the product has helped me, it's helped my family, and my mom's got rheumatoid arthritis. It works great with that. It's just the more, this product is so new, like Erick's saying, the more we're trying it on, the more ailments you try it on, the more you realize it really covers a lot of bases.
Yeah. As somebody who slept for 2 hours 2 nights ago, I will say that sleep is key. 8 hours is incredible. That's great. So when you think about the next wave, Erick?
Well, actually, I was going to jump in there a little bit. So we have been focusing on the pain relief aspects of the Level Select products because that's our biggest component right now. But the reason why the product is called Level Select and it looks the way it does and it's positioned the way it does, we do have gummies. The ones that I just handed you are to help with sleep. We also have gummies that help with focused energy. So the Level Select brand was actually built to help with overall performance. So yes, pain relief is something that can impact performance. But to Carson's point, if you don't get enough sleep, that might impact performance more than anything. And then the focused energy gummies are a natural source of energy, and the CBD, we believe, also enhances your focus without taking a drug or without having to consume caffeine. So we're building products under a trademark that really are centered around the type of performance that is necessary for pro athletes, but doing it and opening up to regular people with that pro athlete proof point.
Makes a ton of sense. I think I told you this when we chatted before. My mother is using, CBD rubs and topicals because it's just better quality of life versus her taking, opioids and prescription meds. It's just, she can wake up fresher the next day. So it's definitely ringing true. You mentioned a little bit about, new product lines, what's coming out, what's next. Just tell us a little bit more about what the future holds, for the brand.
Yeah, so Kadenwood, we have, like I said, Level Select is our flagship brand. The new product launch, OTC line, which we have some packaging in the back of the room. I also have some gummies, by the way, in the back of the room for any of you that want to try them tonight. You'll thank me tomorrow. The other thing we have, so we've talked a lot about our CBD products and our other plant-based products, but we also have a line of probiotics under the brand called Probulin. Probulin is a brand, if you ever shop at Sprouts, it's one of the more prominent brands in the probiotic section. We also make the Sprouts private label, and I'll let everybody hear on a little secret, because that's why you come to these things. If you buy the Sprouts private label, it's still a Kadenwood product, but it's actually cheaper and a better formulation than the Probulin brand, because that's what Sprouts requested in their formulation. And oftentimes people don't know those things unless the people making it tell you that. So if you go to Sprouts, please feel free to buy the branded store private label, and you're actually getting a higher quality product for less money.
I like that. I know we only have about 5 minutes left, so before I open this up for questions, I'm going to ask you some hard questions. I need Super Bowl predictions. Super Bowl week, right? We're going into a big game coming up. Carson, I'll start with you. Who do you think is going to win the game?
I think when you look at this game, because of it being the Super Bowl and this is the final one, and there's so much riding on it, I look for two things. Who's got the better quarterback and who's been here before? And that's the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the Chiefs have a better quarterback in Patrick Mahomes. He might be one of the top 2 QBs in the league. And Jalen Hurts is a really good player. But there's no doubt that Pat's the better quarterback. And just the experience. The Kansas City Chiefs, this is their 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years. So they've been here. Andy Reid's been here. Andy Reid's been here when he was the coach of the Chiefs and the coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, and he just knows what it's like to prepare his team starting 2 weeks ago. So he knows what it's like, what he needs to get, what message needs to get, put across those guys' minds last Monday and last Thursday and last Friday and tomorrow and Friday night and Saturday night before the game and Sunday morning. He's been here a bunch. This team that he's coaching has been here 3 times. They know what, and another important thing is they know what it's like to lose. You'd rather almost not get to the Super Bowl than lose the Super Bowl because you're just so close. And so I think that the fact that they have the best quarterback maybe in the league, and the fact that they've got the experience, they've been here, they've done it, they know what it's like to go home a winner, they know what it's like to go home a loser, and that's why I think the Chiefs win.
Eric, your predictions?
So if you're making bets, I would go more with Carson's prediction because it's based on a lot of stuff that I don't have insight to. But I'm also a little bit concerned about where he's going with that because Monty Anderson, who ships Carson all of his product, is a huge Chiefs fan. And she kind of got soured on him when he was talking Bengals versus Chiefs. So I don't know if he's just trying to make sure that his shipments...
Yeah, I mean... Look, I get why she's a Chiefs fan, and I appreciate all the products she sends me, but at the end of the day, I played for the Bengals. I didn't play for the Chiefs, so I have to pick the Bengals in that scenario. She has to understand that, but she's such a diehard Chiefs fan. Her vision and her judgment's clouded, so that's her fault.
It's totally clouded, and she turned my son into a Chiefs fan, and I remind him, you've never even been to Kansas City. So, no, I think after today, his shipments are going to restart. So I actually think, but this is only me as a casual observer and listening to a lot of analysts, I actually think the Eagles are going to win, and I don't think it's going to be close.
Interesting. Interesting, but I'm with you. I feel like it'll be a game that'll be won in the trenches, and I think that Eagles D-line will be tough to deal with, but we'll see. All right. Questions for the group before we... Here we go. All right.
You go first.
So this is for Eric. Freddie George is founder and CEO of FTPG out of Huntington Beach, so we're your neighbors. I'm super familiar with your product, living in California for the last 30 years, early adopter of CBD and all things natural. So I have a sister, to your point about Big Pharma, and I hope there's nobody Big Pharma in the audience, because I'm down on them not supporting CBD, but she works for DOD, and huge amount of pain, shoulder pain, knee pain, and I've for years tried to get her to do CBD, and she literally tells me she will lose her security clearance and will lose her 40-year career if she even attempts it, which infuriates me. So question, do you have any lobbyists that are, I know it's probably a ginormous hill to climb, but seems to be the only way to get through things.
So this didn't come up earlier, and my CMO teases me because he's like, can you get through a conversation without mentioning that you were a Black Hawk pilot? So apparently not. So before I got into all this stuff, I was in the military for 8.5 years and under heavy restrictions. I actually never even drank alcohol because there was a 12-hour bottle to throttle rule, and I'm like, you know what? I don't even want to risk it. So I get the sensitivity that she has. My father-in-law is a nuclear engineer, and he can't have anything in his system, same thing. And unfortunately, we can't say with certainty, even though our products have 0% THC, it doesn't say 0 THC, because there's always a chance that there could be, and we test our products, we test the ingredients, we test the products. There's always a chance that something can show up, and we don't want that liability, and we certainly don't want people to put themselves in that position. That being said, there are lobbying efforts. We have had prominent politicians actually visit our office in Newport Beach to discuss this very topic at the highest levels of government. And the challenge is we don't pay the government anything close to what the pharma companies do. We don't get politicians elected. We don't have offices on, in DC. So it's like we're just trying to do good and right, and hopefully over time that wins out. so far, they haven't done anything to come after us deliberately. They're just restricting our ability to scale. And it really is going to take consumers trying the product, adopting it, liking it, and continuing to be advocates for it over time. And what I think is ultimately going to prevail, as Carson mentioned, his kids see this product as just the new type of product that's available to them. When I worked on the deodorant business, we didn't bother targeting anybody under the age of 21, because over the age of 21, you've made your choice. Now you're just buying the product. You're not shopping for it. So over time, as generations change hands, we will over time become more mainstream, but it just takes patience. And so I think that's ultimately going to be what helps us in the long run. But I don't see a closer in solution, and unfortunately I don't think those restrictions are going anywhere.
Hi, Anya Puchlovska with FGPG, Experiential Marketing Agency in Huntington Beach. Just to build off of what Freddie was saying, I just want to get clarity on it. So is it hemp CBD or is it cannabis plant that you're using for your CBD?
So I'll teach you something I learned. Cannabis is the plant that includes both THC marijuana and hemp-derived CBD. So the plants that we use to source our CBD are hemp plants, not marijuana plants.
Got it.
And so it all kind of stems from there. But they're both considered cannabis.
So from that, because I've learned that as well from previous clients, that's still considered a substance in like NFL clearance and all that stuff?
No.
Well, so the NFL tests for a number of things. They test year-round for any steroid, any type of performance-enhancing drug. They also test for THC, and they say you can't, or they did. I'm not sure where they're at now. Now this has NSF certification, but they can't test you for it. There is no way to test you for it. It doesn't show up in urine. It doesn't show up in a blood sample. So it is legal, but it's not promoted by the NFL right now. But I know you guys are in the process of Major League Baseball and some other sports. But from an NFL standpoint, they cannot test you for it, and players do use it all the time.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, so we were in talks with Major League Baseball. They actually took a higher bid from Charlotte's Web for their league sponsorship. The other leagues are also interested. We've been in conversations with both the NHL and the NFL. And frankly, the reason why they're not moving on it yet is because at first they were believing some industry language that said this was, a $40 billion category, and that was affecting the type of prices they were expecting for league sponsorship. So I was very effective at convincing them and reminding them that this category is not that big. None of these companies have checks that big to write, and then all of a sudden, magically, they lost interest for a while.
Hey guys, I used to run an agency, and we probably tried to market 6 or 7 different CBD-based wellness products and so on. I'm sure you guys are running into the same challenges we did. We couldn't make it work as an agency. We couldn't scale CBD products. The reason being Google banning keywords like CBD, Facebook not allowing you to do any marketing there. So what are you doing for marketing? I mean, this is, we're talking about marketing here in sports and all that, but how are you getting around that and actually getting to market? Is it through the retailers? Or?
So the retailers help, right, with brand prominence. Those restrictions with Facebook and Google are loosening up ever so slowly. We actually, for the first time now, have a rep assigned to us with Facebook, which was huge. And Google's getting there. It's going to take a while. But really, early on, we did national advertising. We did national radio. We had some prominent radio personalities promoting the brand. But our paybacks were terrible. I mean, just absolutely terrible. So we had to deficit spend. And at the time, I had a very friendly board and investors who were like, go, right? But it's like, now as times are changing, we have to find more efficient ways to scale the business, which is why we've launched things like our OTC line and our Probiotic probiotic line. Frankly, we're going to hold serve on CBD, and our non-CBD products that can have more efficient advertising, because there's no restrictions to what we can do with our OTC line. There's no restrictions to what we can do with our Probulin line. So that's going to get the new money going forward until things loosen up.
All right. Let's give a round of applause for Eric and Carson.